as Loon from Bad Boy Records. Basically, I accepted Islam in December of 2008. And from that day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided me to something more beautiful than anything I've ever experienced in my life. And it's this blessed deen of Islam. And what Allah instilled in my heart is something that compelled me to share, my story so that people may benefit from it. In no way, shape, or form is it done so people can, be inclined to me. I share the story so that you can be inclined to the one that guided me. And from that, I try to benefit, the believers and those who may not be clear on what Islam is because of all of, the misinterpretations and propagations against Islam. So it's very important that, we all, in some way, shape, or form, remind one another of the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for either, allowing us to be Muslim from birth or guiding us to Islam from Jahiliyyah. Now,
Alhamdulillah. So you formerly were known as Loon, right, the rapper, and you were in that Hollywood scene, the fame, success. What made you come to Islam? What made you what sold you on the deen?
well, Allah Azza wa Jal is the changer of hearts. Allah is the facilitator of all our affairs. So basically, the lifestyle I was living was the only lifestyle I knew. So I didn't have the conflict that most people who are Muslim or been born Muslim or, struggling to practice Islam, in Western countries and so on and so forth, or even in the Muslim lands. I didn't have that plight. So I was entrenched in a lifestyle that I only knew. So when I found Islam, and what Allah allowed me to see, through all the noise and through all the obstructions and everything that was going on in my life, Allah allowed me to see something pure. He allowed me to see something that was for the embedment of my soul and the embedment of everything that follows. So with that, how could you gamble? Like, how could you not, weigh or gauge what's more important? This lifestyle that I'm previously living, which is consistent with all kinds of impurities, all kinds of despicable acts, all kinds of things that lead to gradual destruction in this life and eternal destruction in the next. So when you become clear and understanding what that entails, only a sane person would choose that which is greater. And I say that stressing, only a sane person. You have to be pretty much, mentally challenged, I want to say, to not be able to differentiate between that which appears to be good and that which is truly good. Now,
So I want to ask you, because the whole topic is about social and economic development. What do you think is missing from the Muslim community when it comes to us empowering ourselves with our wealth while being Muslims? Because you know how it is, we don't have like role models to look up to that are successful financially as well as keeping their Muslim identities. What do you think is missing?
I think what's missing with many of the Muslims in general and the youth specifically is that the barometer set for success, in this life, and the example that we should follow is the example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the example of his companions and those that follow them in good, meaning our noble Salaf, and the examples that they instilled, in the generations to follow, gradually started to, deplete or decline, so to say. So what happens is when you look at social and economic empowerment, that's not so much a development, which plays a significant role as well, but empowerment as well comes from referring back to those examples, comes back to referring back to that methodology. because people have a tendency to think that because times have changed, certain
Mm,
facets of the deen has changed. You understand? So there's innovation in the dunya, which is actually permissible, but there's no innovation in Islam. So what happens is we find ourselves trying to conform with the things that evolved or changed in society, and we try to apply ourselves according to that, opposed to sticking to the usul, meaning sticking to the foundation of the religion. Because the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know, he was known for his trustworthiness, his exemplary character, and how he implemented business in matters of tijara. So if we take those examples and apply them today, that implementation will ultimately develop and empower you socially and economically.
mm.
Inshallah.
What do you think is lacking then? So, I want to dig more into your mindset because I know your mindset is so robust that, mashallah, your mindset is so resilient. Because I remember listening to one of your interviews that where you said that coming to the deen was so easy for you because when you're committed to something, you go all in.
Now,
So, like, what's helped you just to stay strong in your faith, especially because you went to prison and then were just released? What really kept you going?
well, one thing is, what's always been consistent with my character, even before Islam, is that I never really immersed myself in things that I didn't educate myself on first. You know what I'm saying? So, for example, when I was in the streets, learning and understanding the code, the rules, and the consequences before entering a lifestyle or choosing a lifestyle, meaning this is the only lifestyle I knew. So this doesn't become an excuse for those who know better.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? This becomes a formality, so to say. Not really even an excuse for those who've been exposed to it. It just becomes a formality because of this is what's at the forefront of our exposure. So when we accept those things, we have to accept the consequences that come with it. You know what I'm saying? Because the street life is not a lifestyle, it's a death style. Because what you choosing, the consequences are inevitable that you'll either eventually end up incarcerated or you end up dead. And the only thing that motivates people is the few success stories, quote unquote, success stories that come out of that lifestyle for those who may thrive and may achieve certain bounds or heights. And everybody wants to be that guy. But when you look at the majority who choose this lifestyle, the majority are in prison, or the majority of them are dead or strung out on drugs and so on and so forth. So once again, it takes the same person to look at this statistic and make a sound decision whether you choose a lifestyle or way of life, which is Islam, or you choose a lifestyle that's contingent upon chasing your desires. So for me, being incarcerated 9 years as Amir, alhamdulillah, because had I been incarcerated as Loon, it might have been a different outcome, and Allah knows best. But having Islam before I went to prison, being able to study and live in a Muslim land, being able to travel to numerous Muslim countries, and and immerse myself in what it is to be Muslim in the land of the Muslims, implementing the religion of the Muslims, and so on and so forth. So this became embedded in me. So now
mm,
coming into the prison system, I'm coming in the system with a methodology and a way of life that's already embedded in me. So for me to conform to the prison culture and the lifestyle that's practiced in prison would be me deviating from what I know.
mm,
It'd be me deviating from what I entrenched myself in prior to coming to Islam. So first and foremost, I've always attached myself to the Jamaat. This is the first time in 12 years I've been Muslim where I've, been propelled into a circle of people, which is really considered just the general public. I like to put it that way because, it's not. I'm being propelled into a mainstream audience. No, this is the first time I'm being propelled back into an environment that I prior to Islam, I was, frequent and knowledgeable of. You know what I'm saying? So when I accepted Islam, I ran with my deen.
Mm.
I ran with my religion. I knew this was something good, and I ran with it. Just like a kid, when a kid get a toy they don't want to share, they go run
Right.
in the corner somewhere and play with it by themselves. You know?
Mashallah.
Yeah.
What
So
made you
this is
do that?
what,
What made you like
huh?
hold on? What made you do that? Because you know how it is with the youth, right? There's so much like out there, so much fitna out there, right? And a lot of
Hmm.
us like we try to modernize our identity, right? So instead of calling yourself Muhammad, you call yourself Mo. What like? Because mashallah, the way you present yourself, even amongst the non-Muslims, like I watched you on the Breakfast Club, and you were saying Allah, Qadr of Allah, this is my deen. You're so proud to say it. What makes you? What makes you do that?
I mean, first of all, you want to protect what you love. So, when you love something, you protect it. So, knowing that, what I had accepted, the opposition of that was so strong. So, you run. You take the advice that was given to the man who killed 99 people. He was told to
Right.
go with the people who worship Allah. He didn't tell him, saying there's Toba for you, stay right here. He said, yeah,
Right.
Allah, go with the people who worship Allah. So with that being said, that example, once again, is not outdated. So I took that example. I found Islam. It was pure. It was beautiful. It changed my heart. So, like I said, you know, to go back into how, you implement Islam wherever you are. The Prophet ﷺ said, Taqillah haythamakum. You know what I'm saying? Fear Allah wherever you be. So it doesn't matter where you at or where you go. You implement Islam. So just for those who had the experience what I experienced, the first and most important thing is to tie yourself to the Jama'at. Prison has so many different, you know, geographical things going on. You have, the white car. You have, cars, groups that's, united upon, the city or state where they from. You're familiar with this in London. You run into a guy who's a Chelsea
Yeah.
fan, and you're a Manchester fan. It's like Crips and Bloods. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing in prison. It's like you can find all these different groups, but if you stay with the Jamaat, you'll constantly be reminded of Islam. You'll constantly be around those who remind you of Allah. You'll constantly be with those who signal you and alert you when it's time for Salat, and so on and so forth. So this becomes a protection for you. And this is another thing that a lot of the youth are doing. They're separating themselves from the brothers that remind them of Islam. So
Right.
you're running from Islam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, a real man, he wants to be informed when he has shortcomings and deficiencies, or when he falls short on certain things. Even some of the Salaf, they used to ask one another, tell me about my flaws. You know what I'm saying? So I can correct them. How many men like walk up on another brother and say, Assalamu alaikum, ya akhi. Alhamdulillah, listen, akhi. I know you know me for years. I want you to tell me about my flaws. Tell me about my deficiencies so I could be better. You don't see men do that no more.
Right.
You know, we have a bad case. Nobody can tell me nothing. It's like, it's like a chronic disease we have in our hearts. Like nobody can tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? Or we can't, we can't stand to be advised. We take it as if it's confrontational or it's judgmental. You know what I'm saying? And I used to go through this sometimes with the brother, like, in prison. Like, ain't nobody even around. What are we talking about? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I pulled you way over here. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And I'm just trying to advise you, and you act like, what I'm saying? Like, we on stage. It's just me and you on the law.
Mm.
I'm just saying
Because
tighten up. That's all. I'm just saying tighten up, because at the end of the day, if something go down in this place, I'm gonna have to go with you. Because you're my brother. I'm not gonna stand around and let nobody harm you. All I'm asking you is don't harm me. Don't harm my family. Don't put me in a position where I go, above and beyond to protect my brother when my brother could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? This is just an example of the advice I had to give brothers sometimes. know what I'm saying? Don't do that. There's a bunch of us here. We all love Allah. We love what Allah love. Love the
Sorry, just lost Amir for a second. Was it me? Sorry, guys. Am I paused or is Amir paused? I can't tell. Oh no. So Amir's left the chat. I hope he hasn't left the chat for good. Okay, I don't know what's happened. Let's just hope he comes back. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get him back. Guys, that was so deep. Let me know what you got from that. Let me know what you got. Just type in the things that just hit your soul, that landed with you. Okay, cool. Let me see if Amir, there we go. He got kicked off. Bestseller. Got kicked out of Instagram. Okay, so that
Yeah,
one I
my
can.
bad. Like salam. Yeah, his phone keep ringing. Like people keep trying to call me. And it's like
That's fine.
it's probably people I know that know I'm live right now. It's like, why now? Yeah, all day to call me.
I know, right?
Like why
Mashallah.
now?
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's a shaitan.
So you're talking about. I saw on one of your interviews that when you were in prison, someone said called you by loon, and then you like stopped playing basketball. Like, what made you do that? Because like I'm saying about the identity. I want this talk to be about identity because a lot of us are so afraid just to be Muslim and be proud of it. So what came to your mind when someone called you loon and you were like, I'm just gonna stop playing ball and remind this person that I'm not loon? Walk us through that story.
Well, the thing is this, in that environment, you know, and I was still basically, I had been Muslim maybe 3 years before I went to prison.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So out of 9 years in prison, that equates into me being Muslim for 12 years. So the 3 years I was prison, until I entered prison, I was still at that phase of running with my religion, protecting my religion. So I felt like protecting my religion is protecting my identity. Because now I'm being extradited back into the United States around a bunch of people who just know Loon. You know, I had to get myself, like I said, acquainted with the Muslims, immerse myself in the presence of the Muslims in order to feel what I had felt when I was around the Muslims. But that's, like I said, that's a security for me. So
Right.
I immediately I felt compelled to correct it because I didn't want people to get into the habit when I'm walking around the compound. Yo, Loon, what's up? Yo, Loon, what's up? You understand? I was used to walking through the compound and, it's salam alaikum. So I know as a brother, wa alaikum salam. Then there's a non-Muslim, it's your Amir, you know?
Mm,
So I needed that. So when it started off like, no one really wanting to approach me, no one knowing how to approach me. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? So when I decided to play basketball, because I'm from Harlem, we know how to
right.
play ball. And dude, he was on the mic. He was like, as soon as I went down the court, he was like, okay, Loon coming down the court. And it's on the speaker. So I felt a little bit more, not even embarrassed, just alerted. Like, oh, you just call me Loon in front of everybody? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was just my reaction. Like, okay, I put the ball down. I went over to the table. I said, listen, my man, no disrespect.
Mm,
And please don't call me Loon. You know what I'm
right.
saying? My name is Amir.
Mm,
Now I know you're being a little humorous. You can call me Air Moses or whatever, because he had nicknames and
yeah.
dudes. This is the entertainment part of it, and I'm cool with that
Right.
because that means that name stays on the court.
Right.
But I'm not going to let you establish a name that carries through my whole prison sentence because I'm not going to have that problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make sure that people know you're meeting Amir. Loon didn't come to prison. Amir came to prison. So you need to get acquainted with Amir. Quite frankly, if it was Loon, I probably wouldn't even speak to some of y'all. Probably wouldn't even be acquainted with y'all. I wouldn't have no rap for none of y'all because Loon was a different person. Loon was in a different space. And Loon wasn't the super social guy with everybody, especially like with guys. I'm saying
Mm,
that they got ulterior motives. They be trying to feel their way around, and squeeze in and try to, like, I can't play with opportunistic, type of guys, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it's more to it. You know what I'm saying? Like me, I'm able to identify with sincerity. So I know when someone's being sincere.
Right.
Like since I've been home, a lot of people sincerely trip up and call me Luna. Oh my bad, is it me
Yeah.
again? Like, so that's respect. I don't look at that like, this person's scared of me. No, I look at it like this is the person that's trying to respect me.
Right.
And I appreciate that. And I think that once again, if we all implemented Islam as something that we love and that we're willing to, go above and beyond to establish that love, people will respect that.
Yes.
People will
Okay.
respect you. People will
Right.
respect your sisters. People will respect your children. People respect your mothers, and so on and so forth. But one thing I'm gonna tell you, another story about prison is like, all the brothers, when they come into a new prison, immediately, this is the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Immediately when they enter the prison, they're respected automatically because the Muslims are the most respected, group of people throughout the whole prison system in America. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different.
Wow.
All
So,
throughout the federal prisons, state prisons, the Muslims are the most respected. You know what I'm saying? And respect can be equated into fear, but I want to say the word respected. The most
wow.
respected because they know that we together, we're united upon something that's way greater than you and your flag, you and your gang, you and all that. A lot of people don't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
The Muslims are very firm, and a lot of times, even when the non-Muslims have issues, they come to us to mediate for them.
Wow.
Because we're the best of the people for the people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Meaning that we're the example not only for ourselves, but we're the example for the people as well. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And people don't get to see this because of all of the weaknesses that the Muslims possess in the dunya, or not even saying the dunya, but out in the real world. But in
Mm.
prison, Islam is the only thing we have, the only thing that's allotted to us in an environment where everything has been stripped.
SubhanAllah.
You know what I'm saying? So people need to understand the strength of Islam and how brothers get stronger in their deen. And then they come out of prison and some remain firm, but some get broken down because of all of the distractions and all of the fitna in the world.
Yeah, let's
You know
talk
what I'm
about
saying?
that. 'Cause I know you love talking about prison reform, and I know it's something that you're very passionate about. So I know you were speaking about when people go into prison, they don't have no cushion. There's nothing there to prepare them for the prison life. It's like all their tools are stripped away from them. And then what happens is after they come out of prison, the same thing happens. The tools are stripped away from them and they're not
Yep.
able to get back into their lifestyle. So how have you been able to like comfortably fall back into your environment and be comfortable where you're at right now? What's helped you?
Well, the thing is, we always have to ask a lot of purifying intentions.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is a supplication that, I try to make all the time because it keeps you in check. It keeps you from allowing, you know, maybe the attention you get from people, get want that to get away from you. So what you do, you ask Allah to always purify your heart, purify your intentions. That's
Right.
first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? But when you come to prison, believe it or not, the prison is Jamia to Yusuf. You know what I'm saying? It's the University of Yusuf, alayhi
Right.
salam. So Muslims get stronger in prison. You know what I'm saying? They increase in a deen, or they could fall into the same things that's happening in the real world because all that stuff is there. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's in the street is in prison. Everything that's in the street is in prison. I repeat. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's phones, drugs, whatever it is, all that's in the prison. So the same choices that brothers is able to make to be firm in the religion with the exposure of all those things in prison, they can make that same decision in the world.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you can make the same decision. I mean, it's fitna. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You might even have female staff trying to throw themselves at some of the Muslims. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? Yeah, you got all kinds of stuff going on in prison. You got even situations, where, it's homosexuality in prison. You know what I'm saying?
Alhamdulillah.
And watching a lot of men, preferably, you know what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but it's preferably non-Muslims who fall into these things in the prison.
Wow.
It's not tolerated amongst the Muslims. The Muslims is nowhere near inclined to stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And if they are, the brothers would try their very best to rectify the matter before it becomes a stain on him. Because
Wow.
he's not tarnishing the Jamaat. You're not hurting the group. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? You're hurting you, Akhi. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we deal with matters. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we trying to imitate the gangs. Because the gangs, they hold their people to a certain status. Nah, the brothers, we here for you. We want to help you. You got a disease in your heart, Akhi. You know what I'm saying? You got to ask Allah, to change your heart. Matter of fact, we're going to put you on the Sahaba program. You're going to be with this brother when you go work out. You're going to come, when you come from working out, get out of the shower, you're going to be with this brother. You're going to go to, you know what I'm saying? That's how we assist one another. Yeah, okay, you're going to do Quran with the brother Isan. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? You're going to go over here, you know what I'm saying, with the brother and work out, you know what I'm saying, with the brother Amir. You know what I mean? After that, the brother doing the class, the brother Muhammad's doing the class on Tawheed. You need to be there. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't want to do these things, then you must don't want to be with the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? Because this is what the
Wow.
Muslims on. So it's like we being in that environment, we embrace that because that's love. Out here, you can't even advise the Muslims. They get in their feelings. It's like, yo, come on, you know.
Right. And
Why every time, why every time I see you, it's always this, it's always that. It's like, because I love you. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me if I don't come across that way, but I love you. You think I just wake up every day to come look for you and pick on you? Nah, I'm looking for you because
right.
I'm checking your iman. I want to make sure that your iman is in the right place. You have a problem with that?
Right. And that's love.
Am I not your brother?
Right.
Let me know. If I'm not your brother, let me know. And the only way that's going to happen is if you abandon Islam. 'Cause I'm Muslim, you know what I'm saying? So we ain't brothers. That means somebody done left.
Right.
But
It's
don't.
like the wolf pack. You know the wolf pack, like you can't leave anyone loose because you
Nah,
leave them, right? It's like
nah.
you're together. So I want to understand, why does that not happen in the outside world? If that's happening in prison, is
Well,
it
this
because
is what.
someone's against you?
No, but this is what this conversation is about. This conversation is about how do we reestablish our
Right.
social issues, our community issues. You understand? Our
Mm,
communities are not based upon how many number of Muslims live in that community. That doesn't make a strong Muslim community. You know what I'm
right.
saying? Oh, it's 50,000 of us over there. That doesn't make it strong. What makes it strong is when Islam is strong in those communities. You know what I'm saying? Like when you look at anywhere in the world, everywhere in the world got Chinatown.
Right.
When you go down to Chinatown, you feel like you're in China.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't you feel like you're in China?
Right. Exactly.
I mean, you literally could get on a tube, right? I lived in London before. I lived in Brixton, right over by Masjid Batemi. I didn't live too far from over that area.
Oh,
You can,
mashallah.
you can get on the tube and you go down, go to Chinatown. When you get off the tube, you will feel like you're somewhere else.
Right. Exactly. The
You get off
food.
the bus, wherever you do, once you get there, you're gonna feel like you're in a whole nother place. The language then change, all the writing on the wall is like it's foreign to you, and that comes from them implementing their culture, their methodology, their way of life. And it's so strong that it impacts anyone that come through. You get there now, you want to eat with chopsticks. You wasn't eating with chopsticks before, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you
But
get
you
to
learn.
Chinatown. Yeah, you get to Chinatown. You want to eat. You want to eat with chopsticks.
Exactly. You want to experience it.
You want to experience it. So now, why is it that when the people come through our communities, for the most part, alhamdulillah, the Muslims do inspire. I'm not gonna say we are the complete loss because we're not.
Mm.
I give you a prime example in America. Anybody tell you about Philadelphia? Everybody in Philadelphia, majority, I want to say 90%, is a predominantly Muslim city. So very often you bump into someone, you say Salam alaikum. You say, nah, I ain't Muslim. Look,
Oh, wow.
you got the beard, the pants over your ankles, you got the long shirt. You sure? Come on, man, don't play with me. You ain't Muslim? Nah, the bald Muslim. My cousin Muslim. The bald, he
Wow.
Muslim. I ain't Muslim. So you know what I learned to do when I go to Philly? I just wait till somebody salam me. That's how much impact the Muslims have on a city in America. Also in Dearborn, Michigan. It's the largest population of Muslims in America. The
Wow.
Somali communities are very strong. in Atlanta, Ohio, Minnesota, predominantly Somali community, Muslim Somali community, so on and so forth. So it's like, this is from Allah. This is a fadl from Allah that when we do implement it, it shows.
Mm.
It may skip over a whole nother area, but there's an area where it exists. And Allah places His favor in that community, and it thrives, and it blossoms, and it impacts the people. And the people go there, and they feel safe, they feel comfortable. They don't feel like someone's going to rob them, be disrespectful to them, so on and so forth. So this is our obligation. You know what I'm saying? We're not here to be tough guys.
Right.
That's what bothers me the most with the youth that don't have that particular platform where it's required for you to be tough. Unless you're in the street, maybe that's another thing. But if you're Muslim, why are you trying to be tough?
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Well, we supposed to have the softest of hearts. You know what I'm saying? We supposed to only implement force when necessary.
Right.
Not go out looking for it, because ain't nothing in Islam tell us to be punks. Ain't nothing in Islam tell us to be soft. You know what I'm saying? As far as street, you know what I'm saying, ideology or whatever, or interpretation rather. But that's last resort for the Muslim.
Right. But then it's become
We
the first resort. Nowadays, it's the first resort to just become so harsh and become so violent. Where did that come from then? Like this.
comes from ignorance. It comes from ignorance, and it
Right.
comes from emotions. You know what I'm saying? Emotions, if you don't control them, they get away from you. That's just normal human deficiency. It's not specific to the Muslims. It's just human deficiency. And this is why we have Islam. Because Islam gives us the ability to hone in on that emotion and correct it. Or hone in on that emotion and control it.
Right.
Because we know that anger, you know what I'm saying, is something that's fueled by the shaitan.
Right.
And the whispers get louder.
Right.
Yo, you should punch him in his mouth. Look at how he looking
Right.
at you. He think you soft. Like he don't
Right.
think you serious. You should smack him right now. Yo, you should punch
Right.
him in his mouth. So that's the whispers of the shaitan. When the emotion is there, he tries to feed the emotion so that you act in accordance to that emotion. And then when you calm down, you feel like the stupidest person on the planet.
Right. Fahad mentioned, he goes, if you grow up in the hood, your behavior is most likely to be hostile. Now you grew up in the hood, right?
Yeah.
So your behavior is not hostile. What's helped you govern your behavior before Islam?
First of all, when you start to understand, repetitively, how many people, how many friends, so many times I've seen people murdered in the streets. You know what I'm saying? My mom suffered from drug addiction. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I grew up watching my mother, who was once legendary in the streets.
Right.
I watched her, you know what I'm saying, and many others who were
Right.
stand-up people in my community, people who were pillars of the community, people who were respected men of honor, women of respect, so on and so forth, that I knew, regardless of the lifestyle that they were living, they still maintain a certain level of integrity, dignity, and honor. I watched the crack era come and
Mm.
destroy all that. Destroy. People who were there, who perform public services and so on and so forth. I watched these people go from those influential people in the community to the lowest of the community.
Right.
So when you constantly see that, you start to learn from it. Once again, if you're a sane person, you know what I'm saying? But the mental anguish that comes with that lifestyle, many of us, we normalize it. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? We make it normal because it is normal. But it's not normal, if you understand what I'm saying. It's normal because it's repetitive. And that's what makes it normal. But
Right.
in all actuality, it is not normal. It's not normal. So with that being said, if you can get through that psychosis, turn around and assess the situation, you'll say to yourself, you know what? This ain't normal.
Right.
You understand? Because when you start going to funerals and they become festive, like I go to the funeral to get dressed up and fly, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? because Keisha man got killed. So now I'm trying to push up on Keisha. That's why I'm going to the wake. Why you going? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Now I'm going to see if that kid Daryl show up because he's sure I'm gonna blow his head off. Like this is where
Right.
it became. This became normal. Like we going to somebody's funeral
With
for the
ego,
for
with
yeah for
issues.
these kind of reasons,
Mm.
and that's normal.
Right. Do
That's
you
not
think
normal. You know what I'm
people
saying?
from the do you think people from the hood and or people who haven't had like healthy role models, do you think they suffer from PTSD?
I think every African American in America suffers from PTSD
Right.
from over 400, 500 years of disenfranchisement. You know what I'm saying? From being marginalized and just being ostracized, and a lot of y'all hear these terms, but these terms are real. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's something that actually goes in accordance with what pretty much um, cut into my first inclination to Islam is when I visited Africa. When I
Wow.
went and visited the slave houses, and the story was told to me that 60 million slaves passed through this land or passed through these slave houses, but 6 million, fought and died and never left the soil. So I said, man, they must have been some real, NIGGAs, right? Because I'm ignorant at the time. That's in my speech at the time. May
Right.
Allah forgive me, but it's like that's how I felt. He said, nah, they were Muslim. I said, what you mean? He said they would not submit to no one other than Allah, and they fought and they died. He said the ones that were weaker, they were the ones that got sold into slavery. So when
No.
I heard that, it stripped me of every other alternative method that I used to hold on to my dignity, which was connected to my ethnicity, my nationality, and so on and so forth. And I think that was the first layer that Allah removed. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? So, with that being said, even in the political space that I'm in now, as far as with prison reform and all of that, I try to make it abundantly clear that I'm Muslim first. I'm Muslim first. You may identify with me as an African American, which is true, but I'm Muslim first.
Right. Thank
You know what I'm
you.
saying? So if
Right.
that doesn't come across, then I'm not doing my job. Because if black is at the front of Islam, then I need to fix my issue.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And this is why when you hear me, it's not a ploy to like force feed people Islam. This is the way I speak when I'm around the Muslims.
Right.
So when I'm supposed to get around somebody else and not say Subhanallah, not say Alhamdulillah, not say Qadarullah ma shafa'ala, I'm
Right.
not supposed to say these things? Are you kidding me? Like, come on, man. You put me on the show. You asked me to come here. So you asked the Muslim to come, right?
Right.
You invited a Muslim.
So expect it.
So expect it. Now, if you think
Right.
you invited Loon, I'm going to disappoint you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I try to be respectful to people because of, whatever state of ignorance they may be in as far as Islam. I'm not saying people are just ignorant, in general. I'm saying to certain things, you may be ignorant. I know people that's ignorant when it comes to technology. Doesn't mean they're a stupid person. They're just not really keen on technology.
Right. Exactly.
But he may have to read better than he can, play with a computer or iPhone or whatever the case may be. So
Right.
people, a lot of times, this world has become so ultra sensitive that you can't even say certain words without somebody getting in their feelings. It's like, listen, man, ain't we men?
Right.
Why is you poking your face out and making all these faces, man? Look, I'm just saying words.
Right.
I haven't put my hands on you. I haven't insulted you. I haven't
Right.
disrespected you. I haven't disrespected no women, saying that you an authority over or nothing like that. So why are you in your feelings? You know what I'm saying? I can't say you was wrong when you was wrong. Because if I'm wrong, help me out. You know what I'm saying? I'm striving to be right. So if I'm
Right.
wrong, help me out, man. Help me out. I'm wrong. Help me out. Let's sit down. Let's go have a meal. Break it down to me. I want to know everything I did wrong so I can never do it again, inshallah.
Right. And that
You
comes
know what
down
I'm
to
saying?
humbleness as well, right? Like just being
Man,
humble, knowing that you're not perfect. And I think so many of us, when we think that, oh, I'm Muslim, so I have to be perfect, everything has to be perfect. if I'm not
Nah,
perfect.
Islam is perfect. We're not gonna never be
Right.
perfect. We ain't gonna
Exactly.
never be perfect. So if that's any Muslim problem, I'm telling you this from my heart and from actual fact. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? Even legislation to tell you. No, we're not perfect. Allah doesn't expect you to be perfect. Allah said, I created man in toil. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
We created deficient. Our father, Adam alayhi salam, first sin ever committed was due to his desire.
Right.
He wasn't ignorant of Allah. He knew what Allah was.
Exactly.
He knew Allah's right to be worshipped. He knew Allah's right to be obeyed. But his desire, a human flaw, human deficiency. No, but who do Allah loves? He loves those who turn to repentance. So repent. Keep repenting. Keep making tawbah. Keep making istighfar. You know, keep seeking forgiveness. Keep doing these things until you get the perfect, outcome, which is Jannah.
Right.
We're trying to get the perfect outcome. We ain't trying to be perfect in the dunya. You know what I mean? I say this to people all the time. I'm trying to go to the party that don't stop. I've
Right.
been I've been to every other party you can name. You know what I mean? I done partied in 6 continents. This
SubhanAllah.
loon. I party everywhere except Antarctica. I want to go to the party that don't stop.
Right.
I want to see you there. You know what I mean? I want to see you there. Don't y'all want to go?
Right. Exactly.
I want to go.
I want to go. I want to go
Yeah,
too.
you know what I'm
We
saying?
all want
And
to
that, and that, yeah, that's my message to the Muslims. Don't you want to go? You know, if I don't never get to meet you in this life, I want to see you later. You know what I mean?
go. It's that detachment as well, isn't it? And so many of us
Man,
so attached. We're so attached to the world and making everything feel comfortable here that we don't realize with the unease, that's where you find the wisdom.
yeah,
You have that unease. When things don't go your way, when you're tried and tested, that's when you find the wisdom. That's when you're able to grow and evolve. It evolves your
no.
character. And I guess true wealth is character, right? True wealth is your character. If you
True
have
wealth starts with Islam.
right,
You are the most wealthiest person on the planet. You are the most smartest person on the planet. A person that graduated from Oxford is not smarter than you if he did not say La ilaha illallah.
subhanallah.
In the
Like,
eyes of Allah, he's a dummy.
right,
You're smarter than him. He may be smart in affairs of the dunya, and in Islam, we never strip anybody of any of their accomplishments, especially if they don't contradict Islam. So having an education, having a degree from Oxford doesn't contradict Islam. You know what I'm saying? Unless you took a course on shirk, then that's something different. You know what I'm saying? But anything that stimulates your ability to seek your provisions in this world, that's accepted.
right,
You know what I'm saying? So we're never going to strip the Oxford guy, and I want to be clear. It doesn't make him a dummy in everything.
right,
It just makes him dumb when it comes to La ilaha illallah.
right, exactly.
You ain't say La ilaha illallah? Hold up, man. You got all these plaques on your wall right here. PhD, bachelor's, master's. You ain't say La ilaha illallah? Oh, man, you stupid.
I love that, mashallah.
Yeah.
Someone asked, do you ever miss your old life? Like, do you ever miss being loon?
I mean, you know what I learned after all these years? Alhamdulillah, Loon is a name,
Right,
right? And I'm still Loon, you know. I prefer Amir,
mashallah.
because Amir is the one who found refuge when Loon couldn't. You understand? Amir is the one who found truth when Amir was living a lie,
Right,
you know. But there were certain characteristics that Loon possessed that still exist today because I was always someone who tried to be honorable
right,
in the way I carried myself and how I treated people and how I wanted to be treated, so on and so forth. It's certain characteristics. Like, for example, if you look at the companions, you know what I'm saying, radiallahu anhum, Look at, Umar ibn Khattab, radiallahu anhu. He was harsh towards the Muslims.
Mm.
He persecuted the Muslims,
Right.
right? When he became Muslim, he became harsh for the Muslims.
Right.
So did Umar ibn Khattab ever go anywhere?
No.
But his belief did.
Right. Okay.
Huh? So that's why I learned not to struggle so much as I did when I first went to prison. I felt like I don't want nobody to call me wrong. But
Right.
then as
Okay.
I came home, it's like I learned that, okay, you only know me as long. Maybe if I accept that and you get to spend some intimate moments with me or have an intimate conversation is something that draws you closer to who Amir is, then maybe you'll stop calling me long,
Right.
get acquainted with Amir, and then Amir becomes easy on your tongue. Because even people that try, they know, okay, Amir, then they just like, yo, Loom, oh man, I keep saying it, man, Amir. And I always try to make it easy because it's like, listen, I understand. Because in your mind, you only know. You haven't got a chance to meet Amir. This might be your first time meeting Amir. So let's make it easy on each other.
Mashallah.
When you make a mistake, call me Loon is okay.
Right.
But every time you do that, that means you have to reach out, you have to call me, you have to have a conversation with Amir until we fix this little issue you got.
Mashallah.
Okay, let me mess with that. Alhamdulillah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we supposed to be, this way with the people. Because when we incite certain issues, like when the Prophet ﷺ commanded his companions not to insult, someone's, parents.
Right.
The companion asked, how you do that? He said, when you insult his father, he insults yours. If you insult his mother, he insults your mother.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So when you insult somebody's belief, they insult yours.
Right.
They insult your religion if you insult their religion.
SubhanAllah.
This wasn't the methodology of the Prophet ﷺ. He invited them to something better. He invited them to a religion that affirmed what you already believe.
Right.
We're not taking that away from you, because Islam affirms that.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
We
So we
just
have time
telling
to
you.
last Amir. I want you to touch upon, the Black Lives Matter movement. I remember you mentioned it about this is not the first time that this has happened. This has been going on for a long time. Our voices have, like the Black people have, their voices have been heard. But what really needs to change within the community?
I think that, from that perspective, I think that the voices that was heard this time around, they weren't just heard, they were felt.
Right.
And I believe that, people uniting upon something that's good, something like that, this is also praiseworthy in Islam. Even though, we want the people to unite under La ilaha illallah, ultimately.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But even prior to the messengership or the prophethood of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was instrumental in a particular union that was for good.
Right.
So this example was something that even prior to Islam. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at people uniting for, trying to establish, the adherence to their rights, because this the point in America and in the West and any Western country that governs under whatever constitution that man created. You create constitutions that have laws and rights and certain contingencies put in place. If
Right.
you don't honor those things, right, then you violated a trust. And in Islam, we have to honor a trust. We have
Right.
to honor our agreements.
Right.
We have to honor contracts. You know what I'm saying? This is something that, the Prophet ﷺ warned against the individual,
Right.
who deviated from this. So it becomes so oppressive and heart-wrenching to be an African American in America
Right.
when your rights have been constantly violated
Right.
for almost 5 centuries.
SubhanAllah.
So this is something that just can't be rectified in one setting.
Exactly.
It can't be rectified from just one protest or one, assertment of, anger and emotion is not
Right.
going to change.
Exactly.
But the fact that I do see, since I've been home, I've been watching the Black Lives Matter, movement in prison,
Right.
you know, and I used to have my reservations because it reflected everything that happened, as far as civil issues in Muslim countries as well.
Right.
But a lot of people in America are very insensitive to the matters that take place in the Muslim land. Like we looked at almost 1 million Syrians,
Right.
wiped out,
SubhanAllah.
you know, wiped out. People are insensitive to that.
Right.
The constant civil strife in Philistine, amongst the Jews and the Muslims in Palestine. A lot of people in this country, are very oblivious to that. And if they're not oblivious, they ignore it.
Right. And even
And
what's happening in China as well. The concentration camp,
absolutely.
Muslim.
SubhanAllah Azim,
Yeah.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for all the Muslims.
I mean,
Especially what's happening out there.
right.
That is something that Allah forbid from itself, which is oppression.
Right.
You understand? So when you see these barbaric things happening, but you try to point the finger at the Muslims and say that
Right.
we're the barbarians.
Exactly.
Astaghfirullah. You're just trying to justify, your barbarism.
Exactly.
So, not to digress, because, my heart is always heavy
Yeah.
whenever I see, the affairs of the Muslims. And for me, I always, look to the Quran and Sunnah
Right.
and point the finger here first.
Exactly.
I always start here first. And this is what I think a lot of us lack. I'm not here to never discredit, or speak against what's taking place in the Muslim land or show any insensitivity to these matters. I would hate for anybody to misconstrue, my position in all this. It's
Right.
just that, Allah says that a lot of this comes from our own hands.
Exactly.
And when we rectify that first, then we will see, the favors of Allah manifest themselves.
Right.
And we will be removed from this oppressive state. And we see that even during the time of Musa alayhi salam, when the most tyrannical man that ever walked this planet, Pharaoh, when he oppressed Bani Israel,
Right.
they were patient. They were patient, and Allah sent Musa. So
Right.
nowadays, when you tell the people be patient, they look at you like, you just telling us to lay down, you telling us not to do nothing. Listen, Akhi, start with home.
Right.
Let's get our houses in order.
Exactly. Right.
Let's get our affairs in order first.
Right.
We can't just be out here losing our mind and our affairs ain't in order. We have to get our affairs in order. We have to make sure home is straight first.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We have to be better husbands to our wives. We have to be better brothers and companions to our brothers. We have to be
Right.
better fathers to our children.
Exactly.
Start with myself first and foremost. I pray Allah make me better in the way you see me. But
I mean,
I have the same obligation, the same responsibility, and I try to adhere to it to the best of my ability. You
right.
know what I'm saying? And I know things can get overwhelming. Doesn't
Right.
necessarily mean we give up. It doesn't say we quit. You know what I'm saying? How does the best of the people for the people quit?
Mm.
You quit, and then everybody quit.
Exactly. And we only come
So
with leaders. And obviously in the home, you're the leader of your home. The man is the leader and the woman is the leader as well. The way she runs her home, she
she's the
also
first imam. You the
exactly
imam right now. The first cultivator of that child that you have in your lap right now is you.
right.
His provisions, of course, is from Allah, but Allah made it able for you to provide for him because he can't fend for himself.
Exactly.
You can't send him out to work right now, right?
Exactly.
Alhamdulillah. So these are the things that's so beautiful to me.
Right.
I can't get distracted by what's present. If this is
Right.
the plight of a lot of people. the ungratefulness.
Right.
You have something.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah, you have something,
Right.
right?
We're too busy
Okay.
looking elsewhere. We're looking at
We're
everything else.
looking at what you don't have.
Right. All the
And
gold,
we're looking
flashy
at
things.
what Mahmoud had.
Yes.
She looking at what Fatima had.
Right.
You know, you're all over the place.
Exactly. And
You
that
know what I'm
never
saying?
fools you. It never fools you. You
Yeah,
can have it. It'll never
yeah,
fool
brother.
you.
Yeah, brothers and sisters, look at what you have. Look what Allah has given us. You know what I'm saying? So, not to digress from the topic, because I really want to make this clear to the Muslims that, building communities, you know what I'm saying, is something that's very important. Because when the community is strong,
Yeah.
the difficulty that that becomes, what becomes with being a parent today. And somebody just posted it, it's right on the tip of my tongue. You have to combat against social media. You have to
Mm.
combat against peer pressure. You have to combat against so many things that contradict your teachings in your home. But guess
Mm-hmm.
what? If the community was firm upon everything that you establish in your home, then that means that the dangers that your child will face leaving the home will be less.
SubhanAllah.
Because every four corners of that community he will go to, it will be someone that remind them of Allah.
Right.
It will be
SubhanAllah.
someone, it
Right.
will be, but when we don't rectify the affairs of our community and we find ourselves all over the place, everywhere else, trying to fix everything, you know what I'm saying? Similar to some of these governments, they in everybody's business. But I live in this country. There's a lot that needs to be done here.
Exactly. I'm so focused.
There's just so much to be done here. And this is why I am so passionate about prison reform,
Right.
police reform, social and economic empowerment. You know what I'm saying? Not just for the Muslims, but the non-Muslims as well.
Exactly.
Because once again, you have a right. You know what I'm saying? And these are rights that's given to you by Allah. Not by
Right.
the United States, not by Britain, not by nothing. Allah has given every human being a right. And the Muslims will well versed in understanding what those rights is. And if we fulfill those rights, you know what I'm saying, then inshallah we'll earn Allah's favor.
I mean, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when people see that you understand those rights and you adhere to those rights, those people will be inclined to you, and then they'll be inclined to what you are upon, and they'll be
Exactly.
inclined to the one that you seek refuge in, the one that you call on to rectify all your affairs. They'll come to you to worship the one that you worship, and him alone, not associating any partners, and they'll follow the sunnah and the methodology of the one that he sent to eradicate the affairs of this worldly life, so that we
Well,
will enter paradise, inshallah. And
inshallah.
who doesn't love that? Like, you don't love that?
Who wouldn't love that?
Like,
That
you
sounds
don't
like a
love that? I mean, I'm asking. I'm seeing everybody, sending comments. You don't love that? Like, you don't love what Allah loves? I mean, I love what Allah loves. You know, that puts my emotions in the right place. As long as I love what Allah love and I hate what Allah hate, I'm cool. My love is straight. My hate is straight.
There's not
My love
basically
is yeah. My love is straight. And when I hate what Allah hate.
exactly.
So I don't care if you don't like what I hate. I hate what Allah hate. I don't care if you don't like what I love. I love what
Right.
Allah love.
Mashallah.
Yeah, as simple as that, man. Why we make this difficult on ourselves? We're making this hard on ourselves, man. How you gonna love what Allah hate?
Right.
How you gonna hate what Allah love? I mean, for real. Remember what I said earlier? Any sound thinking person that has aql, right? He would never hate what Allah love. And he would never love what Allah hate.
SubhanAllah.
Because if he do, that's called self-servience, not subservient. Subservient. Me. You. Everyone that said La ilaha illallah is supposed to be subservient.
Right.
You know? Self-serving is from the shaitan.
Right. Just focusing on your own desires, focusing on your ego, focusing on what fills you up, and not focusing on other people as well. Because the deen comes with that. It's a structure.
No, I'm sorry. So listen, inshallah, I just wanted to give a few of the people that asked a couple questions. You could vet the questions, inshallah.
Yeah.
I answer to the best of my ability. أنا ليس شيخ, أنا ليس طالب العلم,
Yeah. So ask your questions, guys. Ask them questions.
and take it easy on your brother.
Yeah. Feel free to ask questions in regards to what
Our
I
talk,
mean,
in
yeah.
regards to the talk.
What Amir's been talking about, like social and economic development, the empowerment in the Muslim community. What would you like to ask Amir? Or what hit home for you? What landed with you today?
I
Let us
mean,
know in the comments.
somebody asked a question. Any advice for a young person struggling with mental health?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's
How
a
would you
great
answer that?
question. Well, to be honest with you, I'm not a doctor. So I'm not a person that can diagnose the capacity of a person's mental issue or mental capacity. You understand? But if he's sane and he can comprehend, then it's incumbent upon you to call him to Islam. And if he's already Muslim, then it's incumbent upon you to remind him of Islam.
Mm,
And Allah knows best. But I'm not a doctor. So that's my
right.
disclaimer. I'm not here to diagnose anyone's mental capacity, but I know that mental illness exists. I know that it's something that's prevalent, and it's the most greatest unrecognized trauma of this century.
Mm-hmm.
So, may Allah make us, Allah protect us,
Any.
I mean.
Sheikha official says she left the music industry immediately when she reverted, but people still throw it in her face to this day and remind her of that. How do you deal with it, Amir? When people remind you of your past, how do you deal with it?
I mean, that's why it's called the past.
Right.
You can't go back there. You know what I'm saying? So how could you remind me of something I can't return to?
Right.
Unless I choose to. But once again, it just goes with people having limited scope of who I am.
Right.
So if someone reminds you of something other than Allah, then we commanded to turn away from it, right?
Right.
So when people do that, and it challenges something that I love more than
Right.
the question that's being asked, then I repel it. As
Right.
simple as that. And I'm not saying it's simple for everybody, so don't get me wrong, because I never say these statements to appear like I'm arrogant. I just want people to know I'm content. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I pray that Allah preserve me and keep me this way.
Any.
You know what I'm saying? So when people come to me about things that are in the past, I try to leave those. Alaikum salam to lovely cats. That's my brother about to Jack.
Mashallah.
I try to, yeah, I try to abstain from the things that remind me of the past.
Right. So you got to stay away from those. Someone asked, how do you wait? Hold on, I just saw this. How do you find a Muslim community? Like, what's the first step?
Whether when in the streets or in prison.
No, in like, how do you find a Muslim community to adhere to? Like, what like who are you around that inspires you, and why do they inspire you?
Well, Allah Azza wa Jal, He guided me to the Muslims. You know what I'm saying? And this is something that is one of the greatest favors. And one of the Salaf used to say, I don't know if I'm more pleased that Allah guided me to Islam or that He guided me to the Sunnah. So,
Right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he guided me to the people of the Sunnah.
Right.
And the more I immerse myself around the people of the Sunnah, the
Right.
more I seen the consistency in their call. You understand?
Right.
I saw the consistency in their call to Tawheed. I seen the
Right.
consistency in their call to adhering to the Quran and Sunnah with the understanding of the Salafus Salih or the companions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and this is the correct Islam. So anything that would differentiate with that or deviate from that, I just stayed away from. So this is alhamdulillah, this is a favor from Allah. Because I know many people, that I've met that, are very firm upon the sunnah. Very firm upon the sunnah. They started from other avenues. They started from other, groups that called to something other than, the Quran and Sunnah. With the understanding of the companions. And they had to, by Allah's mercy, find their way to the Sunnah. Right? So I can't take credit for what Allah did. I can't give you a blueprint of how it happened. I just know that
Right.
Allah placed me around people who protected me and kept me firm. And then I started to grow based on that foundation that I was taught.
MashaAllah. And there's one final question. Someone mentioned that they wanted to revert to Islam, and because of you, like hearing your stories, what advice can you give them to make that transition easier for them?
I would say first and foremost, ask Allah to purify your intentions. Because, the action that follows, it has to be what you intend.
Right.
And, to enter Islam, it has to be a pure intention, statement of the tongue, and action of the limbs.
Right.
You can't just have a statement of the tongue.
Right.
No pure intention, then you're not acting upon, what you ascribe yourself to. I would say to that person, to ask Allah to guide you. Ask Allah to guide you to what's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, trust that Allah and find the Muslims. Place yourself around those who ascribe themselves to Islam. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't feel like you gotta fit in.
Right.
Ask questions. And ask for proofs. Because the thing is, when you're vulnerable, whether you born Muslim or you revert to Islam, when you're vulnerable, only those who are sincere, will see that vulnerability and they'll nurture it and they'll cultivate it. But those who are not sincere, they'll exploit it.
Right.
So I ask Allah to protect all those who are inclined to Islam and guide them to, that which is correct. And may Allah rectify their affairs.
I mean, Jazakallah khairan so much, Amir, for joining.
No, I had no problem. Yeah, I told you, we discussed this, prior.
I know, right?
I wanted, you almost panicked a couple of times,
MashaAllah.
So we have to honor our agreements. So
Yes.
I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. May Allah give you
Jazakallah.
tawfiq. May
I
Allah
mean,
increase you in good. May Allah protect you and protect your family. May Allah continue to instill in your heart that which is, correct and that which draws you closer to Him. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bless you and your family and bless you with obedient kids. Obedient to Allah and His messenger, then you. And then the Father. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And to you too.
Nah. Allahu barik fiki.
I mean,
Assalamu
take
alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
alaikum salam.